The Kettle Imperium ruled over 17 star systems. For hundreds of years, no one challenged them. Their weapons, ships, and battle plans grew better while their pride grew stronger. When their space probes found radio signals from Earth, they weren't worried. To them, it was just another weak civilization to take over someday. Admiral Tejo watched videos of humans with cold eyes. They have weak weapons, few space stations, and fight among themselves. He wrote in his report, "They are no threat to us." The first meeting between the two species happened on the biggest Kettle ship, the Sovereign Dominion. Captain Ju Kim came from Earth as part of the United Space Initiative. She offered friendship and peaceful relations, but Admiral Tejo's helper, Commander Do-yun, didn't trust the humans. Their hearts beat too fast. Their eyes moved too much, Do-yun told Tejo privately after the meeting. "These humans are hiding something from us. I believe they have secret weapons. If we don't act now, they could destroy us later." No one knew if Do-yun really believed this or if he just wanted to look good to his leaders. Either way, his warning gave the Kettle the excuse they wanted. 3 days after the meeting, Commander Do-yun ordered his ships to attack the human research vessel Artemis. "This is necessary to protect our people," Do-yun told his crew as they locked weapons on the defenseless Earth ship. The Artemis had no chance. Its hull cracked open in seconds, venting air and bodies into the cold of space. Before it exploded, the captain sent one last message home. "We are under attack. This was not an accident." There. The message cut off as the ship broke apart. 6 hours later, Earth's Space Command Center received the broken signal. For 3 days, Earth's leaders met in secret. They knew they needed to respond, but they also knew rushing into war could doom humanity. On the 4th day, they called for Admiral Minji Park. Minji had never wanted to be a warrior. She had joined the space program to explore, not to fight. But she was also the best ship commander Earth had. "The Artemis is gone," the USI director told her in a quiet voice. 142 people dead. "We need to know why." Minji looked at the star charts spread across the table. "And if we find out it was deliberate, then you will act as you see fit, Admiral." The next morning, Minji stood in the command center of the UES Nemesis. The ship was Earth's newest and most advanced vessel. Most of its technology had never been tested in real combat. Much of it wasn't supposed to exist at all. "Pre-flight checks complete, Admiral," her first officer reported. "All systems green." Minji looked around at her crew. They were young. Most had never ventured beyond Mars. Now they would travel farther than any humans in history, into the territory of an enemy who didn't yet know they were at war. "Set course for the Artemis's last known position," she ordered. "Prepare Phantom Drive for our first jump." As the Nemesis lifted silently from its dock, workers and soldiers stopped to watch. The ship's dark hull absorbed light rather than reflecting it. Its engines made no visible exhaust. It looked less like a machine and more like a shadow taking shape. "Do you think it's true what they say about the Phantom Drive?" a young technician asked his supervisor. The older woman nodded. "The ship can appear anywhere in known space without warning. No light, no heat, no radiation. One moment empty space, the next moment. There." The Nemesis rose higher, becoming a tiny dot against the blue sky, then vanishing completely. In his command center orbiting the Kettle homeworld, Commander Do-yun received praise for eliminating the human threat before it could develop. He had already been promised a promotion for his foresight in recognizing the danger. "A shame about the primitive vessel," Admiral Tejo said without much feeling. "But the Imperium must be protected, even from potential threats." Do-yun nodded, already thinking about his new position. "The humans won't even know what happened. By the time they develop proper space travel, we'll be ready for them." Neither of them knew that at that very moment, the Nemesis was already halfway to Kettle space, carrying humanity's response to their unprovoked attack and the means to deliver it. After 3 months of silent travel through the darkness of space, The Nemesis reached the outer edge of Catal territory. The ship slowed near a field of floating rocks and metal, all that remained of the Artemis. Scanning debris field now, Admiral Lieutenant Hyojin said, her fingers moving quickly across her control panel. The ship's computers analyzed each piece of twisted metal, each fragment of hull. Admiral Minji Park stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the main screen as it displayed the scattered remains of what had once been a ship full of living, breathing humans. Analysis complete, Hyojin announced after several minutes. The damage patterns are consistent with Catal destroyer weapons. Their energy cannons leave a specific radiation signature. She looked up at her commander. This was a deliberate attack. There's no room for doubt. Minji nodded once. Record all findings. Document everything. When we return to Earth, I want proof that cannot be questioned. The bridge fell silent as the crew continued their work. Each of them had known someone on the Artemis. Now they had confirmation that their friends had been murdered. Admiral, the sensor officer called out suddenly. 3 ships approaching from Sector 4. Catal patrol vessels. Hold position, Minji ordered. Let's see what they do. The Catal ships moved into a half-circle formation, clearly trying to trap the Nemesis against the debris field. A message came through on all frequencies, translated automatically by the ship's computers. Unknown vessel, you have entered Imperium space without permission. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction. Several crew members looked to Admiral Park, waiting for her response. She pressed a button on her chair arm. This is Admiral Minji Park of the Earth vessel Nemesis. We are investigating the destruction of our research ship Artemis. Stand aside. The Catal commander laughed, the sound harsh even through the translator. A single primitive ship dares to give orders to the Imperium. Your bravery is amusing but foolish. You have 10 seconds to comply before we open fire. Minji's face showed no emotion. Tactical, our weapons locked on their engine sections only. Yes, Admiral. We can disable all 3 ships without casualties. Good. She paused for a moment, then said, deploy Phantom Drive. The helmsman pressed a sequence of controls. The Nemesis shimmered like a mirage in desert heat, then simply disappeared. On the Catal ships, alarms sounded as their target vanished from all sensors. Where did they go? The Catal commander demanded. Find them. Sir, nothing on sensors. They've just gone. 3 seconds later, the Nemesis reappeared directly behind the Catal formation. Before the alien ships could turn, a single blue pulse of energy shot from the human vessel, washing over all 3 Catal ships. Their lights flickered and died as their engines shut down. Inside the lid Catal ship, panic spread as systems failed one by one. What happened? Get emergency power online. The commander shouted. Sir, we can't. Their weapon. It wasn't like anything in our records. It shut down everything but life support. On the Nemesis, Admiral Park surveyed the disabled ships on her screen. Tactical report. All 3 vessels are disabled, Admiral. Engines and weapons offline. Life support systems remain functional. They're helpless but alive. Minji nodded. Open a channel to all 3 ships. When the connection was established, she spoke clearly. Catal vessels, this is Admiral Park. Your ships have been disabled, not destroyed. Your life support will continue functioning. Eventually, your distress signals will bring help. She paused. Tell your leaders what you saw here today. Tell them what one human ship was able to do. She signaled to cut the transmission, then turned to her crew. Set course for deeper into Catal space. We have more evidence to gather. As the Nemesis vanished again into Phantom Drive, the Catal crews were left floating, watching empty space where the impossible human ship had been. Days later, when rescue finally arrived, the patrol crews told their story. They described a ship that disappeared and reappeared at will, a weapon that shut down their systems without damaging their hulls, an enemy that could have destroyed them but chose not to. Commander Do-hyun listened to their report with growing annoyance. You exaggerate. One ship, no matter how advanced, is still just one ship. The Imperium has thousands. But sir, one officer protested, this ship wasn't like anything we've seen before. Enough. Do-hyun snapped. Your failure will be noted. Dismissed. After they left, Do-hyun sent his own report to the High Command. Minor encounter with human vessel. Technology somewhat advanced, but no significant threat to Imperium security. But across Cadal space, the story spread from ship to ship, from station to station, whispered in quiet corners and mess halls. It comes from nowhere. It strikes without warning. It vanishes like a ghost. The legend of the Nemesis had begun. Commander Do-hyun paced the bridge of his flagship, the Imperial Fist. Around him, officers worked quietly, afraid to draw his attention. His failed attempts to capture the human vessel had made him angry and dangerous. The trap is set, Commander, his second-in-command reported. All 6 battle cruisers are in position within the Ryan asteroid belt. The human ship will have nowhere to run. Do-hyun smiled for the first time in days. Excellent. The Nemesis has been a nuisance, but today that ends. Our sensors will detect them the moment they arrive, and our combined firepower will turn their precious ship to dust. The Ryan asteroid belt was a perfect location for an ambush. The floating rocks would prevent the human ship from using its phantom drive effectively, or so the Cadal believed. The 6 cruisers had positioned themselves in a sphere formation, weapons pointed inward. No matter where the Nemesis appeared, it would face immediate fire from multiple directions. Now we wait, Do-hyun said, settling into his command chair. The wait was shorter than expected. Just 2 hours later, a junior officer's voice broke the silence. Sir, the human vessel approaches. Do-hyun leaned forward eagerly. Where will it appear? Which entry point? The officer swallowed nervously. It's already here, sir. In the center of our formation. Impossible. Do-hyun shouted, but the main screen showed the truth. The Nemesis had somehow appeared in the very middle of the Cadal trap, the one place they hadn't expected, surrounded on all sides by enemy ships. On the Nemesis, Admiral Minji Park stood calmly as her tactical display showed 6 Cadal cruisers surrounding them. All ships are targeting us. Admiral, her weapons officer reported. They're charging weapons. Minji nodded. Helmsman, prepare for sequence Alpha 7. Tactical, lock disruptors on the 2 nearest vessels. They expect us to panic, she told her crew. Let's show them how humans respond to a trap. What happened next would be studied in Cadal military academies for generations. Instead of trying to escape, the Nemesis accelerated directly toward one of the cruisers. The Cadal ship fired, but the Nemesis twisted with impossible precision, sliding between energy beams. The human ship fired once, not a destructive blast, but a pulse that washed over the cruiser. The Cadal vessel's lights flickered and died. One disabled, Minji announced. Next target. The Nemesis turned sharply, using a large asteroid as cover. 2 Cadal ships fired at once, but their beams hit the asteroid instead, breaking it into pieces. Minji used these fragments as cover, darting between them, while the Cadal struggled to target her ship. They're confused, the tactical officer reported. Their formation is breaking. 3 more times the Nemesis struck, each attack precise and non-lethal. 3 more Cadal cruisers drifted powerless, their engines and weapons disabled but life support intact. On the Imperial Fist, Do-hyun was screaming orders. Maintain formation. Focus all fire on their next appearance point. But there was no formation left to maintain. 4 ships disabled, the remaining 2 trying to protect themselves rather than attack. In the midst of the chaos, Communications Officer Jin-ho called out to Admiral Park. Admiral, I'm intercepting transmissions between Do-hyun and someone called High Command. Their encryption is complex, but... He paused, working quickly. I've broken through. Playing audio now. The bridge speakers came alive with Do-hyun's voice. Confirm that the destruction of the Artemis was my initiative. The humans posed no actual threat, but the perception of threat was necessary for my promotion to fleet commander. The evidence has been purged from official records. As the recording continued, Minji's expression hardened. How recent is this transmission? Very recent, Admiral. He's explaining himself to his superiors right now. They're asking why the human ship is causing so much trouble. Minji made her decision instantly. Broadcast this on all kettle frequencies, not just military, civilian channels too. Let everyone hear what their commander did. But Admiral, her first officer cautioned, that would expose our position to every kettle ship in the sector. Do it anyway, Minji ordered. The truth matters more than our tactical advantage. Within minutes, Do-Yun's admission spread across kettle space. Ship captains heard it. Military bases received it. Civilian news networks picked it up. The truth could not be contained. On the Imperial Fist, a communications officer turned to Do-Yun with fear in his eyes. Sir, our own transmission to High Command is being broadcast everywhere. Everyone knows what you did. Before Do-Yun could respond, another officer called out. Sir, the second cruiser group is requesting new orders. They're asking if they should continue to follow your command. Do-Yun's face drained of color as he realized what was happening. His career, his ambitions, all crumbling because of one human ship that refused to die. Retreat, he ordered quietly. All ships, retreat. As the remaining kettle ships turned and fled, leaving their disabled companions behind, the seeds of doubt had been planted throughout the Imperium. On the kettle homeworld, military leaders looked at each other with new suspicion. Who had authorized this? Who had known the truth? How could one human ship overcome their mighty fleet? The tide had begun to turn. The Nemesis moved through kettle space like a ghost story come to life. Over 3 weeks, the human ship appeared at 8 military bases connected to the Artemis attack. Each time, the pattern was the same. First came the warning. This is Admiral Park of the UES Nemesis. Your facility has been identified as part of the unprovoked attack on the Earth vessel Artemis. You have 30 minutes to evacuate all personnel. This is not a drill. Then came the waiting period. Exactly 30 minutes, never a second less. Kettle commanders who tested the deadline learned that Admiral Park's word was absolute. When the time was up, the Nemesis would appear suddenly above their base, fire its strange pulse weapons, and leave their facility dark and powerless but structurally intact. No kettle died in these attacks. Not one. But with each base disabled, Do-Yun's support weakened. On the kettle warship Imperial Verdict, Commander Chunho received his orders with growing unease. The message from High Command was clear. Find and engage the human vessel Nemesis. Priority level, highest. Another suicide mission. Chunho muttered to himself as he read the orders. Everyone in the fleet had heard about the Nemesis by now. 6 bases disabled. 4 battle cruisers defeated in a single engagement. The human ship that could appear anywhere, strike without warning, and vanish before you could respond. Commander, his navigation officer called out, breaking into his thoughts. Sir, we're picking up an energy signature in Sector 7. It matches the profile of the human vessel. The bridge fell silent. Every officer turned to look at Chunho, waiting for his response. He stared at the sensor reading for a long moment, thinking about the stories that traveled through the fleet, about ships that never returned, about crews left drifting in disabled vessels. Alter course immediately, he ordered. We will not engage. His second-in-command stepped closer, speaking in a low voice. Sir, Commander Do-Yun's orders were specific. We are to pursue and engage the human vessel if. I said alter course. Chunho snapped. Log it as a sensor malfunction if you must. I will not throw away this ship and crew on Do-Yun's pride. The second-in-command hesitated, then nodded. Yes, sir. Altering course now. As the Imperial Verdict turned away from the Nemesis, Chunho knew he wasn't alone in his decision. Reports came in daily of other kettle commanders finding reasons to avoid engagement. A sudden engine problem, a navigation error, a mysterious sensor glitch that made them lose track of the human ship. On the Nemesis, Admiral Park reviewed these reports with her senior staff. "They're running from us now," her first officer observed. "3 ships had us in sensor range yesterday. All 3 changed course to avoid contact." Minji nodded. Fear is spreading through their fleet. But fear alone won't bring justice or peace. "What will, Admiral?" asked Lieutenant Hyojin. "Truth," Minji answered simply, "and a chance for the reasonable voices in their government to be heard." Later that night, as Admiral Park worked alone in her quarters, a message alert sounded. The computer highlighted unusual characteristics, a kettle transmission, but on an encrypted frequency not used by their military. "Security analysis," Minji requested. "No embedded code or tracking signal detected," the computer responded. "Message appears to be text only." Cautiously, Minji opened the message. The words that appeared on her screen changed everything. "This is Advisor Sunwoo of the Cattle High Council. There are many of us who seek peace. Commander Doyun does not speak for our people. The attack on your research vessel was not authorized by our government. I risk my life to contact you, but the risk of war between our species is greater. Please respond if you are willing to discuss terms for peace." Minji read the message 3 times before calling her communications officer. "Jinho, I need verification. Can we confirm this message came from their government center?" After several minutes of analysis, Jinho nodded. "Yes, Admiral. The transmission originated from their capital city. Based on the encryption pattern, it came from someone with high-level access." Minji considered her options carefully. This could be a trap, but it could also be the opportunity they had been waiting for. "Prepare a response. Simple text, no traceable elements. Say that I am willing to discuss peace, but require proof of their authority and good faith." As the message was sent, Minji looked out at the stars visible through her viewport. Somewhere out there, a member of the cattle leadership was risking everything to stop the conflict. It was a sign that not all cattle supported Doyun's actions. Meanwhile, on the cattle homeworld, Commander Doyun stormed into the High Council chamber. His once pristine uniform now showed signs of neglect, and dark circles had formed under his eyes. "Another ship has failed to engage the human vessel," he shouted. "I demand the captain be charged with cowardice." The 7 council members exchanged glances. Finally, Advisor Sunwoo spoke. "Perhaps, Commander, the problem is not with our captains but with your orders. This human ship has shown remarkable restraint. They could have destroyed our vessels but chose to disable them instead. They warned civilians before attacking military targets. These are not the actions of an enemy bent on destruction." Doyun's face darkened with rage. "You speak treason, Advisor. The humans are a threat that must be eliminated." "The only threat here," Sunwoo replied calmly, "is your pride." As Doyun stormed out, the seeds of rebellion had been planted in the very heart of the kettle government. The legend of the Nemesis had grown beyond a military threat. It had become a symbol that challenged the very foundations of the Imperium. Commander Doyun knew his time was running out. 3 weeks had passed since his private message to High Command had been broadcast across kettle space. Each day brought new whispers of his failure, new questions about his judgment. Twice he had been called before the High Council to explain his actions. Twice he had left feeling their trust slipping away. "Prepare my flagship," he ordered his loyal officers, "and signal the 5 cruisers still under my command. We move tonight." His second-in-command looked worried. "Sir, what are your orders?" Doyun's eyes narrowed. "The human ship has made fools of us all. I will end this humiliation. We will take the Eternal Dominion and our battle group directly to the capital. There, in full view of the High Council and our people, we will destroy this nemesis once and for all." "But sir," the officer said carefully, "our orders are to remain in defensive positions only." "My orders supersede all others," Doyun snapped. "Now go." That night, the massive dreadnought Eternal Dominion and 5 heavy cruisers broke formation and set course for the Ketal homeworld. On board, Do-Yun paced the command deck, his mind racing with plans. Once we destroy the human ship, the Council will see my actions were justified all along, he told himself. My position will be secured, my honor restored. The Ketal homeworld received warning of Do-Yun's approach 2 hours before his arrival. The High Council gathered in emergency session. He brings weapons against his own world, Advisor Sunwoo said grimly. He has lost his mind. Before they could decide how to respond, a junior officer rushed in. The human ship. The Nemesis has been detected entering our system. Across the city, citizens looked up as 6 Ketal warships took position above their capital. Fear spread quickly as people remembered stories of the Artemis. Was this revenge? Would the humans join Do-Yun's forces to destroy them? Then, silently and suddenly, the Nemesis appeared. But it did not attack alongside Do-Yun's ships. Instead, it positioned itself directly between the dreadnought and the planet's largest city. What are they doing? People asked each other in confusion. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Admiral Minji Park stood tall despite her exhaustion. For weeks she had pursued justice, but never revenge. Now came the ultimate test of that principle. Open a channel to all Ketal frequencies, she ordered. Every ship, every home, every public space. I want everyone to hear this. When the channel opened, Minji's image appeared on screens across the Ketal world. Her face was tired but determined, her voice steady and clear. I am Admiral Minji Park of Earth. We came seeking knowledge and friendship. Commander Do-Yun's unprovoked attack on our research vessel cost 142 innocent lives. But we do not hold your entire species responsible for the actions of one ambitious officer. She paused, letting her words sink in. The Nemesis could have destroyed your military bases. We disabled them instead. We could have killed your crews. We left them alive. And now, Commander Do-Yun threatens his own homeworld to save his pride. We will not permit civilian targets to be threatened, even at risk to ourselves. The Nemesis will remain between Do-Yun's forces and your city. On the Eternal Dominion, Do-Yun watched the broadcast with growing rage. Target the human vessel. Full weapons power. But sir, his weapons officer protested. If we miss, we'll hit the city. I said fire. Do-Yun screamed. At that moment, the voice of the High Council boomed across all military channels. Commander Do-Yun is hereby relieved of command. All vessels are ordered to stand down immediately. This is the direct order of the High Council. Across Do-Yun's small fleet, captains and crews faced a moment of choice. One by one, 4 of the 5 cruisers powered down their weapons. Their captains would not fire on their own people, no matter whose orders they followed. But on the Eternal Dominion, Do-Yun seized the weapons control. I will do it myself. The dreadnought's main cannon fired. A blinding beam of energy shot toward the Nemesis. The human ship's shields flared bright blue as they absorbed the massive hit. Shields at 60%. A Nemesis officer reported as the ship shook. We can't take many more like that. Minji's voice remained calm. Maintain position. Target their main reactor with precision pulse only. The battle that followed was brief but terrible. The Nemesis held its protective position, while the dreadnought fired again and again. The human ship's hull began to crack. Fires broke out on 3 decks. Still, it did not move from its place between Do-Yun's rage and millions of innocent lives. Shields failing. The tactical officer reported after the 5th hit. One more direct hit, and we're done. Minji nodded. Fire now. End this. The Nemesis released a single concentrated pulse that cut through space like a surgeon's knife. It hit the dreadnought's reactor with perfect precision. The Eternal Dominion's lights flickered and died as its power systems failed completely. 3 days later, Admiral Park walked slowly into the Ketal High Council chamber. Her uniform still showed burn marks from the battle. A bandage covered one side of her face where a console explosion had caught her. but she walked with dignity and purpose. "You could have destroyed us," Advisor Sunwoo said as she approached. "When Dohyun fired on you, you could have moved aside and let him reveal his true nature by hitting our city. Instead, you protected our people from our own commander's madness. You chose the harder path." Minji looked around at the council members, meeting each pair of alien eyes directly. "Humanity doesn't seek enemies," she said simply. "We would prefer friends. But remember this, we will always defend ourselves, and we will never abandon our principles, even in war." The peace treaty signed that day was just the beginning. 2 weeks later, as the repaired Nemesis prepared to return to Earth, thousands of Ketal citizens gathered to watch it depart. Children pointed at the sky. Parents told them stories of the human ship that could appear from nowhere, the ship that had saved their city. Across the galaxy, other civilizations took note. The story spread from world to world. When alien generals issue retreat orders at the approach of a human warship, it's not merely fear of their weapons, it's respect for their character. The end.